welcome everyone to this another insightful and informative session on essential considerations for drone in a box deployments. I'm your host Rahul, and with this session, our core focus would be to help you understand in detail about what it takes to deploy a drone in a box solution at scale successfully. As dog drone operations gain momentum worldwide for autonomous industrial inspections, such as security, be it surveying or inspections, it's very crucial to educate and inform potential adopters of the prerequisites and the considerations they must have in place before deploying such solutions. And who better than Juan from UAV LATAM and Rafael from World UAV Federation Colombia chapter to speak about this. With multiple drone in a box deployments that they have already carried out, they have a lot of experience with them that would help them in painting a detailed picture about how you can carry out a successful drone in a box deployment. Talking a little bit about Yuan, he is at the helm of an enterprise which has presence in about 9 countries in Latin America. The UAV LATAM is one of the leading drone solution providers in Latin America. He has an experience of about 30 years in the IT industry and about 15 years in the drone industry. Rafael, with a background of industrial engineering, is the founder of ARTC Colombia UAV Association and also leads the Colombian chapter of World UAV Federation. He has also founded IRBIS SAS, which is a drone-based consultancy and provides solution design for drone applications. With this, I would like to draw some housekeeping rules here. Please drop in your questions in the Q&A tab so that we can take it towards the end of the session. This entire session will be recorded for you for later perusal, so you can access it after the NestGen event. And UAV LATAM and World UAV Federation, they both have their booths, so do make sure to visit them. And do not forget to share your favorite moment of this entire session over LinkedIn or Twitter with the hashtag NestGen. And lastly, before I hand it over to Yuan, I would like to thank our title sponsors, DJI Enterprise, and our gold sponsor, Sunflower Labs. With this, Yuan, over to you. You can share your screen now for the presentation. Should I start the video now?
Yes. Let me do a couple of words. Go ahead. Yes, actually, go ahead. Yeah, I would like to, first of all, I would like to thank you for having the opportunity to do this presentation, where the level is very high, being Rafael here with me. So he put that bar very high here. So I have to, I have to dig into the technology, and I have to, do a very good presentation. It's like having him on the right. But anyway, so I would like to share with you this small presentation. Of course, my people in marketing pushing me very hard. I said, hey, do not make this one really hard selling, but, it's hard to deal with the marketing people. But anyway, this is a short video, about who we are and the kind of operations that we do. In a humble way, we start in Peru about 10 years ago, and about 3 years ago, we decided to start operations in several countries in the region. And, if I can start, you will see that in the picture, but basically, sorry, I have here the presentation, so here in the room, so I have to lower my level here. Anyway, so this is the presentation about UAV LATAM that we are doing about 9 countries on the last 3 years. I think we can, you will see we have also rotor, the copters, and also we have fixed wing planes that were able to get up to 40, 50 kilometers on one ride. So these are the countries that we operate at this time. And so that's, we would like to give you a presentation. So my marketing people will be happy. So we can go to the next slide, please. Basically, in our experience, we decide to focus on three main business units or line of business that they call. First, the data analytics, which is basically, the common use about drones, the volumetric analysis, the level. So all the basic things that we do. And we offer that complement the data analytics with using a very powerful cloud system like ESRI. ESRI is a very good system. So the customer doesn't need to buy high computers to play with that information. The other one is defense and security, and mainly using the drones for surveillance. But recently, and we were having very good success on the anti-drone systems, as you may see here on some of the presentation. Actually, especially, for instance, I can give you one clear example about the anti-drone, which is also very applicable for drone in a box. Is the jails have been built 10, 15 years ago with the high walls, but they didn't anticipate that it's going to be the drones. So we have in a couple of countries that it's not only one or two flights per day. Some jails, there are 20 to 30 flights per day. You do times 30, you're talking about 1,000, close to 1,000 flights per day from usually the town, which is 2 or 3 kilometers next to the jail, that most of the cases not a nice neighborhood, and then you go there back and forth. So that's something that is getting there. And then of course the other one, which also plays a significant role, the drone in a box, is the drone cargo. We're going to see what are the challenges, but that's the three line of business that we are dealing with. The next one, please. And you will see here, and of course, before you play this one, and I can tell you, we have to kiss several frogs until we find a princess. So I mean, we already tried 2 or 3, and we invest money on these drone in a boxes, but definitely at least the one that we try is keeps a frog. There is no princess. And about a week ago, we are testing the one from DJI. I'm doing this advertising to DJI, which is our sponsor, which it seems to be very, very solid and very good. So I think we have a high expectations with that drone in a box. With that one, please go ahead. This is not the DJI, but it's one of the early things that we have prepared. This is a neighborhood in Mexico that we tested, and again, it was a big challenge to do this one. I don't necessarily need to mention the manufacturer, but it was quite a challenge. Go to the next one, please. Okay, we're going to talk about the data analytics. Basically, the autonomous software flights, why it's important, and also be careful, because I know I talk with my regulator friends, and please do not use the word automatic, because that's a bad word. That's something that some of us maybe we take lightly, autonomous and automatic, but don't use the word automatic, because you're going to get the regulators very mad. Maybe they will throw a stone to you. So be careful on that one. So basically, is the data analytics is we're going to have the data collection, and we are going to monitoring the assets that we would like to do that one. And for this one, that's very interesting, the use of drone in a box, because you're going to have a very automated survey. You can have the box, which is going to be a challenge related with the previous speaker, because how much you are going to call a drone in a box? Is going to be BVLOS or not? Because you may have a pilot, an operator next to the drone in a box, but it can be operator from the command center, which is 20 kilometers away. But you are going to be by line of sight with the people next to the drone in a box. So that's going to be a challenge in there, defining if it's BVLOS or not. And also the good thing is it's going to be you can play day and night. So I mean, yeah, you don't necessarily need to be alert. The 24/7 you can use as much as you need. And then, of course, I can share you one clear example that I hope we're going to get. It's going to be the largest mining in all Latin America. They have one main, as they call it in Colombia, main pain, to mayor dolor, as they call it in Colombia, mayor dolor, the big pain, is when most of the mines are open pit mines. So they have to do explosions, to continue taking the material that they need to process. The problem when they do this one is there are people around. In the mining, you may have 20,000 people working around. So what we're going to do is with the drone in a box next to, not so close, but next to this one, we're going to start from the command center a flight 5 minutes before the explosion. And then we're going to review, and also the interesting thing, because that's where really the machine learning and artificial intelligence plays a role, because it needs to be in real time. We need to monitor that nobody's around, because it doesn't make any sense to do the artificial intelligence over an old scene. It's going to be real time. So that's one of the significant use of the drone in a box. We can continue with the next one. We may go to the next slide. Yeah. Oh, sorry, to the previous one. The previous one. Yeah, okay, next one. Yeah, again, I mentioned a little bit about the defense and security. Of course, it's very easy to understand that you're going to service, but here's what I'm saying, and you can please play the video, the next video. You will see that's what I was saying about how do they use the drone in a box in a mining. I think there is sound on the video, but I don't know.
Damos zonas de exclusión aérea y geocercas para evitar ingreso a áreas restringidas. Establecemos límites y corredores de vuelo para una navegación segura en nuestras operaciones. Antes de cada vuelo, realizamos una revisión exhaustiva y validamos parámetros con una lista personalizada. Implementamos protocolos a prueba de fallas para situaciones inesperadas, asegurando una recuperación o un aterrizaje de emergencia de los drones. Usamos prevención de colisiones con datos de sensores en tiempo real para evitar obstáculos durante los vuelos. Nuestro software facilita el monitoreo constante con drones que capturan datos y responden a infracciones sin depender de pilotos disponibles. Operamos 24/7, ahorrando recursos y tiempo de capacitación, proporcionando alertas inmediatas sobre vulnerabilidades del perímetro. La gestión remota de la flota elimina la necesidad de operadores en sitios riesgosos. Los sensores termográficos en drones detectan con precisión personas, vehículos y equipos en condiciones de visibilidad reducida. Capturan firmas térmicas, posibilitando alertas inmediatas para mejorar la seguridad y facilitar evacuaciones. Integramos sistemas de alarma, sensores, CCTV y BMS para abordar rápidamente problemas de seguridad en tiempo real. Utilizamos sistemas CAD y herramientas de respuesta a emergencias para desplegar drones de manera autónoma en cualquier incidente, asegurando una acción rápida.
Many people don't like many people to work around the mine. So yeah, security is very top. So
Mediante la visión computarizada de nuestra plataforma y el aterrizaje automático de alta precisión, garantizamos que nuestros drones regresen de manera segura a su punto de origen. Bienvenido a UAV LATAM, el proveedor líder en soluciones, Drone as a Service potenciadas con IA, para el sector de minería, con operaciones en 9 países de la región.
she was trying to be objective. My people from marketing, they could put the name. So sorry for that. Okay, go to the next one, please.
UAV LATAM los invita.
Okay, and now the main thing, but is, I have to be realistic. This is something for the future. So if someone plans to make money on the 2024 or 2025 with drone cargo, I think it's going to be a big shot. Because the companies are looking this one to be the first kid on the block, because you are not going to make money delivering pizzas and a Burger Kings. I mean, you are going to make money. Of course, there's a niche. For instance, when you deliver medical materials, that will be some opportunity. But definitely delivering, this pizza, these kind of things, and also, as you can see here, we are talking about the middle mile. So we are not going to go through the last mile, neither to the first mile. Usually we go the middle mile, go from mile 2 to the mile 9 in a 10-mile trajectory. So I think, again, this is drone in a box, which is, as you can see, we're talking about drone in a box release 1, but definitely it's going to be released actually yesterday. This is for the people of the DJI. Hopefully they will listen this one. I asked the question to my people, like, can a drone in a box go from box A, to the same drone, to box A, box B, and box C? They were not able to answer that thing. But anyway, so I think these drone in a box present a significant opportunity to all the ones that we play here. So, and again, as I mentioned, we already kissed several frogs, no luck, except, and we have big expectations on the DJI drone in a box, and also, of course, the DJI cargo drone. That's something that everybody's talking now, the drone cargo. They're supposed to release maybe in 45, 60 days. And we already placed an order, or trying to place an order, but I think that's a big opportunity too. Go to the next one, please. And we are working with the Brazilian for all our cargo things at this time. This is a very significant company in Brazil who are doing deliveries, about 100, between 50 and 100 flights a day in Brazil at this time. And we represent them outside Brazil. They work in Brazil, but we represent them outside Brazil. And for instance, one of the main challenges is you don't want to place pilots to do the drone cargo operations because pilots are so expensive. You need to have operators, maybe a nurse, maybe a paramedic, something that can check there. They may not have a big experience on drones, but they can check because nobody around. Maybe they can change the batteries, and that's what you need. You don't need this with a pilot for 4-year degree, to operate on the remote, on the jungle, to do this operation. You can see here, this is a pilot that we did that in Sao Paulo for 6 kilometers. I think that's pretty much what I have to present today. Again, another advertising for the company, but definitely we are testing several scenarios on all these 9 countries. Some, for instance, the challenge is there is no unique rule. For instance, as you may know, neither in Costa Rica, neither in Panama, mining is permitted. But in Chile, Peru, and I think Colombia too, mining is a significant part of the economy. So it depends on where you are to know where you are going to apply the technology of this drone in a box. And again, thank you very much for allowing me to present this one. I'll be very interested to hear what Rafael had to say too. Thank you very much, Raul.
Thank you so much, Yuan, for sharing your insights about the industry and about how UAV LATAM is deploying AI-based drone in a box solution for mining use case. Now, Rafael, hearing it from you, I'm sharing your presentation here, so I look forward to what you have to share.
I guess that is the next slide. And thank you very much, Raul. Juan, big regards to you. Nice seeing you again. Uh, for this presentation, we have two hats. One is from the World Unmanned Systems Federation, where we help companies to become acquainted with the market. And the other hat is IRB, which is a company that designs solutions. And what we do is we put together a drone solution within an IT environment. Please move to the next one. So suddenly we found ourselves with a project to develop a Docker station, given the many opportunities for remote infrastructure monitoring in roads, oil pipe, mining, as Juan said before, and many others. So the distinguished features that we went for is each dock station can carry 2 drones. So in fact, you can have one drone doing a program flight. This program flight sees an anomaly, and the second drone can check the anomaly while the first drone continues with its regular flight. Second thing, we did battery swapping. Battery swapping, it's right now something that I would very much debate on, because it depends on the reliability of the robot that you built inside, so that you don't have to go very often to the location to perform maintenance. That is one key issue. And the third thing that was very important was software analytics. We needed that the software had to be an assistant to the remote operator. Please, the next. So with those three, with this product, we went to many customers, and one customer decided, and this is right as they said, we will take the risk. What was the risk? This all started 28 months ago, when regulation was not that clear. And imagine this, we were still using the Mavic Enterprise Advanced drones, right? Very nice product, but between that product and the current one, the differences are huge. So we came up with a project, we designed a project for an oil pipe. Please, the next. So this oil pipe had a very critical area. You can see in the first picture on the left of the screen, the full extent of the oil pipe on the eastern side of the mountain range in Colombia. And then on the second image, you can see a small segment of that oil pipe. That's the segment where they have the most incidents. Many of those incidents are people trying to milk the oil pipe, well, any that you can imagine. And the oil pipe runs parallel to a mountain range that you can see in the next image over there. So the thing is, you have all of the winds and the weather coming from the East Plains hidden. It hits the mountain range and becomes like a turmoil over there. So weather was a challenge. Next big challenge was, you can see right here, this is an airstrip that we use as a base. You can see the average treetop is about 18 meters. That became an issue later on. And then you can see over here all of the challenges, the logistics challenges that we had to prepare so that we can actually do the deployment. Please, next. So we did many designs for the location. We did many considerations considering weather and how can I say, fauna, because we do have a lot of fauna. And you can see right here from the design, we knew we had to separate the communications antennas from the docking stations so that we could go over the treetop when trying to perform flights 3 or 4 kilometers from each one of the docking stations. We had to do wind screens. These wind screens became critical because if not, when the drone was trying to land and a wind hit it, it would try to go up again and recover and try to do the landing again. And that process at a given time, when we first started, this image that you see on the right, took up to 15 to 20% of the battery. So we were reducing a lot of the battery used for flight range. And the next is that we needed, our first approach on the design was to connect to the oil pipe communication system. That turned out to be a big challenge. Please, next. The operation was split, 3 different segments. The very first thing that we did is we went to the nearest control airport. This right, the one on the first left hand, that is an airport called Yopal. And we checked with the airport all of the traffic that they regularly manage. We checked with them their frequencies, and we agreed a program so that we could let them know whenever we were flying, especially because even though there's no aircraft traffic over here, there's helicopter traffic for this oil company and for others. So helicopters do fly in the same airspace as drones do, very low, very close to the ground. So we had to prevent that from the very beginning. The next thing that we did is we took, you can see in the middle picture, the big strip of the oil pipe that we were going to monitor, and we split it in 3 blocks, the 3 blocks that you can see in the 3 images below. And something that was one of the best lessons learned, weather stations. Because at a given time, when you're having a remote pilot, even though you have a camera at the station and you can check the surrounding, you cannot tell the cloud coverage 2 kilometers away or 3 kilometers away. So weather coverage became a big issue, even though at the beginning we thought of a weather station at each place where the docking were going to be placed. Please, next. So we went, deployed everything, and we had the command and control room. Now, think of this. We have 3 docking stations separated 30 kilometers from the first to the last, and the control room is here in Bogota. It's 294 kilometers away, right? Our very first approach, you remember what I just said, was to connect through the oil pipe connection. And look what happened. Every time the guys from the oil pipe, the IT guys, went to perform an update on their firewalls or an update on their cybersecurity systems, we got disconnected. So we were doing a flight, suddenly disconnected. What's going on? Well, there's always the failover procedures in the middle, but it turned out so complicated that we became the bad guys for the IT people in the oil pipe. The solution, we actually ended up doing an independent connection. We use GSM in one part, Hughes network in another, and actually we, in the most complicated location, we actually ended up using Starlink for connectivity. And once we had a separate connection, different from the oil pipe network, the consistency of our connectivity was completely reliable. The one thing that took us a little time, we had to fix the latency for the video, because the oil pipe network is fiber optics. Great. But the ones that we were using wireless were not. So latency went from this to this. So we had to adjust telemetry, and we had to adjust the video feed so that it could sustain the latency without generating any risk at the end location. So at the command and control room, we planned every flight. These red lines that you see are program flights. Program flight was associated to a flight corridor. Those flight corridors, we had to verify that didn't run over any school, any electric power station, any of those other things, to clear the way. And we did a risk assessment for all of those. Then you can see here what became the most important tool: video analytics. So that we could detect a person, we could detect a motorcycle, we could detect a vehicle. So the way the whole operation was established is the drone operator at the command and control center was trained on drone operations. So he could easily understand and interpret what he was seeing. The protocols were established, but the operator could at any given time intervene and take over manually on the flight if he see any alarm, like you can see on the right side. On the right side, you see a screen that was looking at the ground. The system saw something that did not match and performed an alarm. That's the white square board that you see over there. And then the operator did a close in to that location. So the operator actually had to be trained as if he were a drone operator flying with the control on hand. Next, please. To put together all of this, the key issue was the operations manual. Now, the two images that you see on the left side, please believe me, it's no joke. That is the whiteboard where we sat with the oil pipe operating people, maintenance, infrastructure, and security, and drew all of the conditions for the operation. So we went from a whiteboard drawing, many drawings, in fact, to the document that you see in the middle, which is the operations manual. That document includes who authorizes a flight, who can request a flight, who is the response executive at an emergency, who does the security procedure to actually start the flight. I mean, checking that the operator is on site, that the connectivity is right, that weather is right, and all of that. And with all of that, we went to civil aviation. So what you see in the middle, it's our registration, the registration we did in civil aviation for the whole operation. And what you see in the lines in the bottom is civil aviation in Colombia does have a registration sheet, spreadsheet. There's a line over there that says, actually it has my name on it, where we were authorized and registered for the operation. That took us almost a month to get. And some back and forth fixing what the operations manual included and some adjustments. One of the key issues on the manual afterwards was where was the information going to be stored and what was the security for the information. So we actually went for something called an hyper-converged data infrastructure that allows you to do the storage as a service. And what you can do is, is software-defined storage, so that you can actually assign data fields per each flight, because this is different than a video solution where you have a constant strip. We were having clips all the time. So all of the data management was different. In fact, it actually resembled more a data center approach than anything else. And then the very last document, what you can see there with the title Blue Adas, was the service level agreement. The service level agreement had two key issues that were peak in all of the operations. The very first one is we committed ourselves, after that many discussions, 6 hours operating per day. 6 hours. Now remember, we were using Mavic Enterprise drones that gave us 20 minutes. That meant that we had 3 docking stations, 2 drones each. It was 18 flights a day. That meant 18 cycles for the batteries a day. And that became the critical issue for programming the maintenance and service visits to each one of the locations. And that was one big challenge, because 2 of the locations, we actually needed to program a helicopter flight to reach it. So we actually had to book the program helicopter flights that the oil pipe had in order to do those maintenance and services. Now, the other thing that the service level agreement said is, well, what happens on events? First event, rain, weather conditions. Second event, and it did happen, we had 2 bird attacks on the drones, and the drones were lost. So the service level agreement had an instance where we had a certain time to replace those drones. We had 2 weeks to replace each drone. That was fine. Then we found something very, very particular. Remember that I mentioned something about the weather stations? Well, we could actually be 2 kilometers away, and suddenly we had rain. So what we end up doing is a joint effort with the customer, with the oil pipe, to install weather stations linked via GSM or a LoRa network, so that we had precise, off-the-ground weather information before each flight. And we installed those stations 2 kilometers, 2.5 kilometers away, and that was one of the main lessons from this whole project. Please go ahead, Raul. What were some of the surprises? Some of the surprises out here. Well, some interesting ones. The very first, this one over here. In order to install any cable at any of the locations where we were going to be placed at, all of these connections were not simple connections, but graded for oil industry. So each connection, each pipe, everything. So a little cable to get 110 volts to power the docking station had to get a permit, a revision, a document, because it does affect their security rating. Second, even though we had a very good power electrical configuration, look at this. We had little bugs that actually caused full boards to be lost. How exactly? Look, it's the kind of things that you don't really imagine, but it did happen. Look at the image here on the with the red background. A bug actually got in there in that cable connection and caused a malfunction. On the right upper hand, there's a repeated image for a reason. There was one night where we had 18 centimeters continuous rain. And what we thought originally was to place the docking stations over wheels that were 12 centimeters. So the solution was in each location. We went to find a solution for this, and it came from data center solutions, because data centers are always over a false floor that is over the regular building floor, whatever, and it does have the proper supports so that it could hold a 128 docking station on top, but still allow the water to go through and flow under without causing any risk to the dock station. Look at the nice little box that we had over there on the left side screen. And we have something quite interesting. At dawn, I don't know why, the sun energy, this reflectancy on the sunlight caused us to lose connection in flights during those hours. Why exactly, we could never really find out, but we learned to test those time frames when we went to flight before doing the program flights, because this kind of surprises actually did happen. So we ended installing all of our docking stations with an access control system, biometric, network connected so that we could remotely supervise it, 4 video cameras, a post for the drone communication antenna, a UPS for 2-day operations, a dual network connectivity system so that we could go network to a RJ45 connection, Ethernet, fiber, or we could go satellite if needed. And the one last thing over here is that we learned to do an additional flight, a landing guide, which is the 4 blocks that you can see over here, the 3 blocks that you see over here, because we did find that sometimes the drone was not smart enough to actually find one of the locations. But if it had 3, it could approach easier and at end select the right one. Why exactly is that? That was a long discussion with the DJI SDK team, and I think they learned a little bit of that about that situation that we encountered. Please go to the last. The last is just an invitation. Colombia is a country with about 8,000 kilometers critical infrastructure power, 5,000 oil pipes, many natural parks, some very remote roads. So the invitation is for any company with a nice and proven solution to come and see the market, because there are some very nice opportunities. One final comment from my side. I completely share what Juan said. We never use the autonomous, automatic word, never. All of our operations are remotely assisted or remotely monitored. If we had said that this is autonomous, we have never gone through the very first step in civil aviation, because the word autonomous is still very, very frightening for authorities. Thank you very much. One very last comment. UAV LATAM and Interrep are part of the Colombia chapter, World UAV Federation. And actually, Interrep and UAV LATAM are now joining experiences for future projects. So in case you wonder why we are all together, is because we are really working on teaming up for future efforts very much.
It's an honor for us to have you with us, Rafael, too. We are an honor for us for that one, too. Just a quick question, Rafael. Is this one with a DJI in a box? What kind of a drone is the one technology that you use, if I may know?
This one is called D-BEST, D and then BEST, which is Drone Battery Exchange System. And it was designed by a conglomerate in Cali, in Colombia, called Parquesoft.
I see.
Parquesoft is the designer of the docking station. This docking station used the DJI Mavic Enterprise, and is now being redesigned to use the Mavic 3 in all of its versions.
Good, good. Thank you. Thank you.
No,
All
sir.
right, gentlemen, thank you so much for your time. Now we'll move on to some of the questions which the audience has. So again, Rafael, thank you so much for sharing insights about the real challenges that you faced during the deployment and what were the measures you took to solve those and make the deployment successful. And thank you so much, Yuan, for painting the entire picture of how the industry is moving ahead in adopting a drone in a box solution. The question which I have is now for Yuan. So the audience wants to know, in Latin America specifically, what are some of the key challenges that one must be aware of before deploying these solutions? And what are the measures that they can take to have this solution successfully deployed? If you can share some insight on that.
The main challenge is, as I mentioned, the regulation. That's the challenge number one. And then number two is regulation, and then number three is regulation. So that's a very significant part, and because we need to realize we are the little brother on the aviation. So and most of the people who direct these civilian organizations are people who been formed on the regular aviation, people who knows very well about aviation. And some of us, we are not an expert on aviation. We are more on the business side than on the aviation. So it happened, so we need to find a middle ground. Of course, understanding the technical part, but we are a business people. We are not necessary. The flight is part of the operation, but it's not the end, like it could be on civil, in general aviation or commercial aviation. So I think that's the main challenge that, from my point of view, face the drone industry in general and this specific technology in particular.
Understood. Another question to you, Rafael. How many drones did you have deployed over the 30 kilometer distance that you mentioned about? And how did you program to power each of these drones on the basis of the missions that were carried out? Can you throw some light on that operation? Yeah, Rafael, you're on mute right now.
Sure. Sorry. The operation was designed so that we had 3 docking stations. Each docking station had 2 drones. So each drone had a 5-kilometer coverage over on each side. So for each one of the docking stations, we programmed flights on their radius of operations. The docking station had a small processing unit that stored the flight programs. So even if disconnected, a flight that was scheduled or a flight that was random could take place, and it was completely controlled. Then the video feed was stored at the base, and if it was online, the base did the connection supervision to the command and control center. If there was any connection loss, the hyperconverged concept allowed us to do something called network replenishment, meaning that we could then, when the connection was restored, do the network combination so that all of the logs, the flight, and the video feeds were sent and organized at the command and control center properly. So if you add 5, we did a 30-kilometer long coverage area in this case.
All right, understood. That's really great to know. I see that Yuan is disconnected for some reason. There might be an internet issue.
Maybe,
So
maybe.
let us wait for another couple of minutes till he joins. Just before we end, what question which I had and which a lot of people had in mind was, in like since past 3 to 4 years, the drone in a box solution industry has been growing at a tremendous pace, and we are at that stage now that the operations are now being scaled to multiple docks. So for 2024, what do you foresee happening?
Well,
What do you think people should keep in mind and system integrators should keep in mind before proceeding ahead with the deployments?
look, you just reminded me of a very important argument over here. When we started this project, it was mid 2021. We actually did flight operations over 22, fine. And after June, July 2023, we started having a lot of problems because we could not find spare batteries for the Mavic Enterprise Advance. So one of the key issues here is the lifetime of the products. If you see Autel, you see DJI, their products now have a lifespan that is getting shorter. So I cannot plan a 3-year service operation with current drones because I cannot be certain that 18 months from now, the M3 is going to be still available. So that is one, probably, from my view, the most challenging issue to check out. And that's where some of the docking station solutions that are the dock and the drone may have an advantage, because then dock and drone are supported by the same manufacturer, but at the same time that becomes a disadvantage because then you're tied to one supplier. So it's a gamble where you're going to go one way or the other, and you can just toss a coin and go after. But to me, the lifespan of the products today is the biggest challenge because it's getting shorter than 2 years.
Understood, Rafael. That's something which is greatly pointed out. And yes, the future for drone in a box adoption is at a rise at this moment. And with a lot of deployments being proven now, at this stage, we have multiple hardware vendors, multiple OEMs who have docking stations which are capable for scale deployments. So the future is really bright for these kind of solutions. So yes, let's hope for the best and let's work for the best. That is it from my end, Rafael. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining in and
Raul and
asking.
all of you, thank you very much. I want to make one quick note.
Sure.
Most of the countries are still in the early stages of 5G network deployments. 5G is going to be a great enabler for drone docking stations operation. It's going to be great. But even better than 5G is the 5G private networks. When a customer already operates a 5G private networks, is the ideal scenario for docking station operations. It's wonderful. It's great. So as you said, it's a bright future. I do believe opportunities are going to rise. We will be needing professional operators to do this. But keep in mind, it's not just, as Juan said before, it's not just the aerial part, it's all of the IT part. And you need to combine both very well. And that is the big challenge. And that's where you can find a very nice market for specialized and very conscious companies in this sector. Thank you very much.